Ryan Williams has proved what I've been trying to say all along. Vandy is now relevant.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy part of your day. And shout out to the everydayers. Well, Ryan Williams' bulletin board material did more than provide Diego Pavia and the boys with some motivational fodder. It proves further that Vandy's relevance is growing, and they are now on the map. I've been pointing this out, but this really just kind of puts that exclamation point on that whole thing. So, also, it's official visit season. Vandy has done well in recruiting so far. How are things going now? And then we wrap it up, man, by talking about the disappointing loss in the regional for the Vandy boys, and now they're losing some players to the portal, and really to the surprise of no one. And the players they are losing are also to the surprise of nobody. So thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Welcome to the Ant Farm. Yes. I said it to start the show. Vandy is relevant. We're in new territory here, right? Didn't think we were going to get to this day this quickly, right? I knew Vandy had a chance. I knew they had a chance to get relevant. I knew they had a chance to really make some moves to put their trajectory in the right direction. It's there. They're relevant now, right? And I think, honestly, what Ryan Williams did, I think further proves that, right? Because what I said in the last episode, and I'll reiterate that fact here, is that, when you look at what he said, why he said it, he was put on the spot by John Gruden. And he talked about, and John Gruden was pointing out the Vanderbilt loss, and he was busting his chops about it a little bit. And normally with Vanderbilt, they would have just said, yeah, we'll get it back this year. We hope to, he would have had some sort of canned answer or just some sort of dismissive answer or something would have just, he would have blown right past that point and they would have gone on with the video and all that stuff. But truthfully, he went in on it and he even used an idiom type statement, a metaphor, some really, really good imagery. When he said, we're going to kill an ant with a sledgehammer, meaning they had something special in the tank for Vanderbilt. So what does that mean? They've got that circled on their calendar. They got that circled on their schedule. That doesn't happen with Vanderbilt. Since the James Franklin era, when has that ever happened? Where a team circles Vandy as a must-have game. When has that happened? I mean, it doesn't happen very often. And if this is the new trajectory of Vanderbilt football in the NIL era, I'm here for it because this could be a lot of fun in the SEC because Vandy is widely considered as the doormat of the conference. Maybe not so much right now because they're not being treated like a doormat because you don't talk trash to the doormat. You just don't. No one's really talking trash. And I hate to say this about Mississippi State, but nobody's talking trash about Mississippi State. Nobody's talking trash about Kentucky. Auburn, they have a bunch of layers of why, but if it was just strictly based on their record and their recent performances, nobody would probably talk trash to them. But they're Auburn. They've done things a little bit differently throughout the years, and they're still relevant. But nobody, you don't hear that Kentucky trash talk. You don't hear any of that. You don't hear people who lost to Kentucky last year. Oh, we got something special. Like Ole Miss. If Kentucky was relevant, you would hear some chatter about Kentucky from Ole Miss fans. I posted a YouTube short from yesterday's episode, and within minutes, somebody said no. And I feel like within minutes, without a thought out answer, I feel like that's a very defensive answer. And when you're defensive, there's some truth to that. And the title of it is Alabama worried about Vanderbilt? That's the thing. I posted that. It was a very defensive answer. So the point being is this: Ryan Williams. There's truth behind Vanderbilt being relevant. Ryan Williams put the stamp on that by talking trash about Vanderbilt. It brings that into the forefront. It brings, now Vandy is in the conversation because of that clip. I don't know the status, the viral status of that clip. I don't know how much it's circulating, the clip of him on inside the FFCA. I don't know where that's at as far as views go, but I imagine it's got to be up there because John Gruden's pretty popular, and so is Ryan Williams. He's one of the best players in college football. Outside of Jeremiah Smith, he might be the best wide receiver in college football. He's talking about Vandy, and he could have dismissed that answer. He could have dismissed right past that. It would have been so easy to dismiss right past that. But he had a nervous laugh. He got a little bit uncomfortable, and he said, yeah, we got some, And you saved, like I said, you saved those answers. Like that would have been a Georgia answer. We got something for them. It's going to be like a sledgehammer, and it was kind of a funny, strange analogy, but I loved it. I'm going to use that for now and forever. And and Vandy's got a new nickname. We're the Ant Farm, right? And I want to see Ryan Williams. Alabama fans, if you're out there, please urge Ryan Williams to try to kill an ant with the sledgehammer. Like, do it for real. I want to see this video because that would be hilarious. Just don't break a toe, okay? Just don't swing and miss and hit your own toe because that would be bad too. But the trash talk, man. Like, you trash talk Georgia. Okay. You trash talk Oklahoma. Got it. Trash talk Tennessee. Got it, right? Those are the Oklahoma game. That Oklahoma's a relevant team. They've had a couple down years, but they're a relevant team and they're moving in the right direction. Talk trash to them. Tennessee, one of the biggest rivalries in college football. Third Saturday in October. Yeah, you're going to talk trash about Tennessee. Vanderbilt, not relevant. So why are you talking trash? Oh, are they relevant now? Is Vanderbilt relevant now? Like I said, man, that loss did a number. Vandy's season put them on the map. And there's a lot of reasons why they are where they are. There's a lot of reasons why they're relevant. I've pointed a lot of them out in past episodes. I've kind of compiled a list. But Ryan Williams talking trash, I think, is the cherry on top. Now everybody can say, hey, we're on the map, man. We're getting that attention. We're getting that trash talk. We're getting involved in it, right? And I love it, dude. I absolutely love it. I love that people are getting involved in that now. I love that people are, I love that Diego Pavia can be such a polarizing figure in some of these quarterback debates. Or I love the fact that there's a name in the ESPN mock drafts as a first rounder in Eli Stowers. I love that NFL caliber offensive linemen are starting to migrate down this way. I love that this defense is going to be, it's very, very, very good. And Stephen Willis, if you want to listen to a show, he does a really good job blocking on Ole Miss. But on the Squad Show, just to give you a little preview without spoiling it, we talk about this, and we talk about Vanderbilt's defense, and he said Vanderbilt. He made some reference about being the valedictorian summer school. Now, Steve has never talked trash about Vandy. Not that I know of. I mean, I'm sure he probably has, but not that I know of. But his attempt to try to squash the fact that I think Vandy's relevant, I think proves that point, right? Anytime, I think people are starting to take notice that Vanderbilt is they're actually scooting their seat up to the table. They didn't have a seat at the table. They've never had a seat at the table. They briefly did. But now, like in this new NIL era, Vanderbilt, I think, has woken up a little bit and realized what they can do. And this is going to be fun for the SEC. If Vandy continues on this trajectory and they become consistently good, the SEC definitely, and I did a show on this, but the SEC definitely will not be ready for that. It's going to be a thing of beauty, man. But the trash talk, man, the fact that we're involved in trash talk, the fact that I think as the season wore on, I got more and more trash talk on my videos during football season, especially South Carolina fans. I loved it, man. I loved it. And the trash talk was good. It wasn't personal. Nobody attacked me personally. They just attacked what I said, and they jumped on what I said. And that was freaking amazing, dude. So love the trash talk. Love it, love it, love it. It means Vanderbilt is doing something right. If you're getting trash talked about you, you're doing something right, okay? You're doing something right. And the trash talk is not, I think people just can't handle that Vandy is starting to get in these conversations. And it's great. So, but I compiled a list, and I want to show you the list, and I've kind of gone over some of the things that make Vanderbilt relevant. We're going to talk about that next. But I'll tell you what's going on right now. FanDuel. That's right, man. FanDuel is awesome. And check this out. FanDuel has Vanderbilt, their over-under wins at 4.5. I don't know that FanDuel's ready to respect Vanderbilt yet, but I'm going to smash the over on that. And guess what? I'm going to have to place a $5 bet before then, because you can get $200 in bonus bets if you win. So I want to have my $200 in bonus bets loaded up. And I may do something crazy, like put all $200 in bonus bets on the 4.5. That'd be kind of cool. Anyway, but if you want to bet in the meantime, NHL finals, NBA finals, or Stanley Cup finals, NBA finals are in full swing. I kind of dig the Pacers right now. I think I'm kind of rooting for them, but there's a lot of things that you can vote on. There's a lot of player props, live game stuff, performance trends, odds boosts, things like that. Same game parlays. You have a lot of ways to play, and you can win big on any of these things. So, which players are showing up in the biggest moments, and how could tracking their trends end up building your next bet? Well, if you notice a trend, just jump in the live game and build a same game parlay. And you could, you could get on the action, man. You hit that $5 bet. You pick the easiest bet of all time, put $5 on it, hit it, and then get your $200 in bonus bets. And it is absolutely amazing. So if you're new to FanDuel, you should really take heed to this, right? It's perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com right now, place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. I can't restate that fact enough, right? So make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Speaking of everydayers, shout out to you guys. Shout out to the first timers. Thanks for stopping by. Shout out to I call you out of towners, but the other fan bases that stop in to listen to the show and drop a note, whether it's friendly trash talking or not. Thank you for making this show what it is. Hopefully you engage, and hopefully you guys are, you guys make this thing fun. So I appreciate you. Appreciate you however you get here. So talked about how Ryan Williams is proving that Vanderbilt is relevant. Normally, somebody of his caliber would not recognize Vanderbilt. All right. Here's a list I've compiled, by the way. All right. I put that down there as number 4. These aren't in any kind of particular order, but that's kind of the cherry on top. That's kind of the foundational piece. Just the fact that he is acknowledging that this is a big game and he appears worried about it tells you what you need to know about Vanderbilt. They're starting to get relevant now. The Ant Farm. Vanderbilt's starting to attract bona fide NFL talent. I think Eli Stowers going in the first round. I hope he can uphold that. I have no doubts that he can and will. But you get a first rounder with this program, with this new regime, I think that's only going to help. And in the world of NIL, in the world of, hey, how can I get to the league and make some money in the meantime? I think Vanderbilt is really putting their name in the ring and making this something of a bit of a destination. Jordan White, I think, is a bona fide NFL talent. He's probably a day 2 guy only because he plays center. So I could see him second or third round only because he plays center. If he played tackle and was a little bit taller, he'd be a first rounder. But he's that good. Diego Pavia, he's an NFL guy. I don't know where he fits. I don't know if he takes like the former quarterback change position type role. Like the Julian Edelmans of the world, who starred at quarterback for their respective. He started at quarterback at Kent State, came in, got evaluated as a wide receiver, made a really, really nice NFL career as a wide receiver. I don't know if Pavia is open to that. I don't know how he fits in as an NFL quarterback. Not sure that he has the downfield accuracy and downfield strength that is required in the NFL. It's a much different league. But if he'd be open to playing a different position, maybe, I'm not real sure. But he's talented. He's got everything else. He's got all the intangibles that you need. Defensively, Aaron Bryan, I think, could be a guy that is a dark horse NFL candidate. I think, well, actually going back to the offensive line, like you have Isaiah Glass that could possibly roll in as a guard at the next level. You could have some situations there. Longwell, Patterson, I think could be a special teams ace, and like a reserve linebacker. I think, you look at, I'm trying to think, Martell Height, I think could be a special teams ace and reserve corner. I think he can do some great things. Like, there's some NFL caliber guys, Dante Carter in the future, Miles Capers in the future, Keanu Coate in the future. I think all are NFL guys. I don't know about any of the wide receivers. Bryson Coleman is a future NFL guy. Cole Spence, I think, could be kind of like the bigger blocking type tight end that teams are starting to go to a 2 tight end set. So like those kind of guys, right? I think there's some guys that have a lot of NFL potential too, and some of the guys are recruiting as well. The portal ads, the departures, I think those are finally in a good spot. Like there's no mass exodus, and I know there's a lot of movement in the portal for a lot of teams, but like I wouldn't consider what happened at Georgia or Texas A&M, or I wouldn't consider those mass exoduses, but I think it might be a little higher than normal portal movement. But I mean, you're going to get that. You're going to get an uptick in that. I think Vandy's went from like excessive from 23 to 24 to really showing a healthy program from 24 to now, because I think more guys wanted to stay, and some guys that you thought were going to hit the portal didn't hit the portal. And I think that speaks to the health of the program. And I think that shows that they know we're going in the right direction. And of course, in high school recruiting, Carson Lawrence and then Caden Harris, 2 of the highest rated recruits in Vanderbilt history. And so you're looking at guys like that coming more on board with as the years go on. I think if you can continue that momentum, you put yourself in really good shape to get some true guys, and to be honest with you, I don't really pay attention to star rankings. I really just kind of look at measurables, and then you look at their film, and you can even tell from their highlight film, you can get a really good picture of what they do and how they fit. And I think these guys are going to be really, really good fit. And I think some of the other guys, like a Caleb Barnett, I think is going to be a good fit for what we want the slot receiver to do. The reason why we got Trey Richardson from Wabash College, Division II, I think a lot of people are like, oh, what the heck is that? But like, he's a fit. And Vanderbilt's in a situation to where they have to have specific scheme fits. And that's why I think the portal class is healthy, because the type of guys they're bringing in fit a very specific role. If you were just looking at star power in general, you could probably say it's not where you would want it to. Like, you're not gonna win many headlines with some of these guys, but I think once these guys start performing, you'll notice that, oh my gosh, like, how did they find this guy? Right? Like Diego Pavia was good. He beat Auburn and people were excited about that. But I don't think anybody anticipated just how he would impact this program. Like I think you'd be crazy to think that last January to think that he was going to be the biggest star in Vanderbilt history, which I think you could make a lot of arguments about that, right? I don't think anybody anticipated that level because he's rankings wise, stats wise, he's a mediocre quarterback that plays above his level coming from New Mexico State. Like there wasn't much there to quantify him being as great as he is. But those metrics don't measure the intangibles that he brings, right? And those don't get looked at. And so when you look at those things and these guys, like they take a lot of chances and their scouting department's good. Like they, and I don't know how that factors into being relevant, but like you put yourself on the map and when these guys overperform, it does bring that development piece into play. And people are like, okay, well, if they can get Diego Pavia, a mediocre quarterback from New Mexico State, that was kind of the thought, like, oh, Diego Pavia is like a savior program, like, right? That wasn't a universal thought in January of 2024. That just wasn't a thought. They thought he was going to be good. He beat Auburn, but like, did you really think he could do that week in and week out in the SEC? Nobody knew, but he did. He proved it. He proved development. He proved that his intangibles, and he proved that a good, healthy culture can be successful, and that makes a team relevant. And so that kind of leads to a lot of different things, and that's why we're having this conversation right now. So relevance, yes, we are relevant. Why? Diego Pavia, Eli Stowers, Clark Lea's revival, the talent on defense, playing above your head at Missouri, taking Texas to the wire, obviously beating Alabama, that goes without question, going on the road and beating Kentucky, going on the road and beating Auburn, and winning a bowl game. All those things. Beating Virginia Tech to open the season when nobody thought you would, except for me. I thought they could. I made the bold claim. But anyway, that's kind of how I feel about that. But going back to recruiting, how are they doing right now? Talking about relevance. How are they doing right now? It's official visit season. We'll talk about it next. All right, wrapping up the show here. Not sure we're going to get to the baseball stuff, which is fine. Ethan McIlvain and J.D. Rogers are in the portal for the baseball team. Not surprising there. Both those guys had disappointing campaigns. There's some other guys I think that are in the portal that I didn't even know were on the team, to be honest. So I don't think anybody that's in the portal right now for baseball is very surprising. But anyway, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. If you're still around in the third segment, thank you to the loyal third segment guys. All right. But I want to talk about recruiting a little bit, right? Because, with official visits, with the things that were happening in the spring, the run in baseball, some of the lists that came out, some of the storylines that popped up, I didn't really get a chance to follow outside of that short burst of commitments. I really haven't honed in on recruiting since then. All right, but I'm going to give you some updates because it's now June. June is prime official visit season, camp season. So here we go. Joel Wyatt. He's a guy from the Webb School, 6'4", 200-pound athlete. Probably going to play probably on the defense side of the ball, maybe. But the update on this, and I'm really excited about this. LSU, Vandy, Tennessee, I think we're the three coming in. Truthfully, I there's some information out there that it's probably going to be an in-state battle. But if honestly, I think if he looks at the film, if he talks to Coach Lea, like I don't think there's a world where Vanderbilt can't compete defensively now with scheme, with production. I think they're starting, and after this year, they'll really be able to put the stamp on it, because I think it's a defense that's vastly improving athletically. Scheme wise, I think you're going to see a totally different defense. Right, wrong, or difference. That's my prediction. You're going to see a totally different defense, and people are going to take notice. Like Joel Wyatt, 4-star, 6'4" athlete, just absolutely electric. I think you're going to see that take notice, and you're going to see some of these recruiting battles that are being won. So, what else has happened? Okay, well, Quinn Buckey took his official visit. I think he's got an offensive lineman from California. I think it's Vandy for him. Offensive lineman Mitchell Smith, 3-star running back Isaiah Lee. I think they made some good headway there. Owen Cabell from CPA, 3-star guy. He didn't commit, but I think is I don't know that Vandy's in on him. Julius Miles also. I think Florida State's been doing some things. Caden Harris is going to visit Georgia. But I think I don't know. I think Vandy is in pretty good shape with him, because I think he wants to stay in state. And I think he realizes what his potential is at Vandy, and he gets to stay in state. Cameron McCaney, I think it's he's going to take his visit to Indiana, but I think Vandy, all these guys. I think when you look at their film, and I know you can look at star rankings and be like, okay, all right, this is what it is, but when you look at their film, these guys are really disruptive. And I think, honestly, what dings them in recruiting rankings are the measurables. And and we talked about this in our SEC host group chat, that like recruiting rankings for these sites, I think they only factor in, they don't factor in the nuances of scheme and how these guys are being used. Because you could get a 3-star that would be phenomenal at FSU, but terrible at LSU, right? Because of the way he would be used within their philosophy, especially on offense, right? Scheme fit defensively, an animal's an animal, and you can just let those guys loose. But offensively, I think scheme is a big deal, and you have to look at film. You have to look at and obviously the coaches look at the film, and I don't think they pay attention to star rankings and whatever. But as a consumer, you have to look at the skills, and you have to understand, if you're going to critique recruiting, you have to understand. And this is kind of my PSA on this. You have to understand the skills involved that make them productive at their particular position within your scheme, right? And if they don't have the skills, it's not really if they don't have the skills that match what you need them to match based on your scheme, then it's not a big loss, right? Because they weren't going to fit in anyway. They weren't going to develop. But like the guys that contribute right away, either they have transcendent skills that make scheme irrelevant, and there are those type of guys that exist. But the vast majority of them, their particular strengths match up well with the strengths of how you're going to use them in your offense or your defense, right? And so when you look at that, when you hear the word scheme fit, it's kind of like the term game manager. It's used in a more derogatory sense of like, oh, he's just a good scheme fit, which means he's never going to be a star. But some of the biggest stars are scheme fits, or like some of the best quarterbacks are game managers. Like Drew Brees was a game manager. But anyway, that's kind of my spiel on that. But I think this is a very special group of guys. And, as they commit, I'll break them down more and more and more. But I think Vandy's in really good shape with a lot of these guys, which I think is more than you can say most summers, because, you look at typically, they visit Vanderbilt and they don't really take them seriously. And, whatever other schools are on the list, you could probably guess if they're going to go to those schools. But the biggest takeaway for these recruiting updates until they start committing, I think, are Vandy's more in the conversation now. And that's kind of the first step. Vandy's landed a few of these big fish, and they're in the conversation for a lot more, which I think is better than you could say this time last year. And then if you continue to improve that and you start landing more and more big fish, you're going to be really good. And Fran Brown's doing that at Syracuse, where I think, the way he's kind of evaluating his recruiting success is not just with the guys he's landing, it's also the guys that, okay, Syracuse is in this guy's top 3. And that's true for a lot of guys. Same with Vandy. Vandy's in their top 3. And if you get in their top 3, you have a chance of getting in them when they inevitably hit the portal, because a lot of guys hit the portal. Portal's always full. So as long as you can finish top 2, top 3, you're going to be in good shape too. You could eventually get that guy. But anyway, that's all I got. We had a lot of fun on this one. But Vandy, the point of this show, the biggest takeaway is this. Get ready. It's a new era. And Vandy's now relevant. Anyway, behave yourselves. Anchor down. We'll see you next time. Peace.